Hi and welcome. My name is Jessica Lemmon. I am the best-selling author of Billionaires and Bad Boys, yes, romance novels, and I also teach people how to romanticize their one beautiful, precious life. Today I'm going to be doing some journaling in my sterling ink in my beautiful Midori cover, so stick around if you'd like to see more. Okay, so I was sitting down to do my journaling. So I'm just opening to the page that I was on. And I was like, I should tell them about what I'm doing because I had shared before, like some of the papers that I get from my Sticky Club. Whoops. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that. From my Sticky Club subscription. And I shared like a sticker unboxing and some of these fun papers. So what happens after you use these beautiful papers to take notes on? I don't want to throw them away because they're so pretty. So I put a little bit of that double-sided tape that just fell off onto my notes yesterday. So here's what happened. I recorded a podcast with the woman I did a mentorship with for a year. And we talked about how I published my very first novel with a New York publisher. I have a few stories around that. And honestly, it made me want to go back and tell them all to you. I can't wait for the podcast to come out. I might break these down into smaller videos as well, if that's something that you're interested in. I'm trying to find my footing on this channel, you guys. Like, I love to talk romance novels. I love to talk about tarot. I love to talk about planning. And this all falls under the umbrella of romanticizing your life. I know I'm supposed to pick a lane, but if you're familiar with human design, I am a manifesting generator and so many beautiful things appeal to me. It's just hard to pick sometimes. So how I'm going to start my journaling for the day is I just put some double-sided tape onto my scribbly notes on this beautiful paper, and I didn't want to throw it away. So I thought I would journal about what I did yesterday, which was record the podcast, which was so wonderful because Taylor's a great interviewer and she's a wonderful mentor and friend. And so it was just a great time. Okay. Now what I want to do is find light academia stickers and see what I have left in this pack, because I remember that's what that came from. Academia, that's the word I'm going for. Look how stinking cute this is. So what I want to do is kind of get my little journaling spread set up. With what? These clocks are amazing. Love it. And then I might pull a little bit of washi as well. Is this gold or rose gold? Looks gold. Not that you can't mix your metals, but sometimes I don't want to. It's usually the part I fast forward for you guys because no one needs to be here while I'm picking out washi tape. Or maybe you do like to be here while I'm picking out washi tape. I don't know. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go, ooh, look at this. I've got some, see, this is giving rose gold to me, but I think that's okay. This is a pretty warm gold. Let's just do this. When I am setting up my journal, as we've talked before, I do not like to have a blank page, giving myself that jumping off point. So if you're wondering, like, what the heck do you journal about? I kind of treat this as a combo. Written journal, sketchbook, junk journal, taping in found things is totally fine. Oh my gosh. Hold on 1 second. I'm just really loving this. Like I told you, I'm working in a sterling ink planner, and this planner is very similar to a Hobonichi cousin in setup. So you get, your weekly, and then in the back you get a daily, but there's no dates and there's no holidays marked. So you get this beautiful blank slate to work in, and I absolutely love it. Huge fan of sterling ink. The quality is insane. Here's what the front looks like. I always decorate mine with some cute stickers. what I like to do is get some sort of Tombow situation. Let's use this one. And then I'm going to write today's date. I don't know about you guys, but I am feeling such a burst of hope today because the snow has melted and it's been on the ground for so long. And that can just tend to really, really wear on you, especially in the Midwest in February. Like, I love the first snowfalls and then you're like, okay. And because of the cold temps here, I mean, it has really stuck around for us. So today it's going to be in the 60s. And that's amazing because we haven't seen the 60s yet this year, have we? I think one day, maybe one day. Today's the 18th. As you can see, as I do my Tombow, I kind of just go over the bottom. And you can go back over the like this. Just to give a little shadow, little ombre effect here. You know, in the podcast yesterday, Taylor and I talked about, you know, I knew I wanted to be an artist or a writer. And I ended up being a writer, but I've also always been an artist. So having a brush pen in hand is just one of my favorite things. I can hear my dogs walking around, rattling their little collars, and I forgot to take their collars off before I sat down, and here we are, all having to listen to them rattle through the house. Okay, now I'm going to just do a little bit of journaling. Okay, so what I ended up writing, turn you around here, is yesterday I recorded a podcast on Riverside with Taylor for her New Money Paradigm podcast. I had so much fun with the interview and chatting afterwards. It was fun to remember all that I've been through and how magical the process was in hindsight. It gave me a lot of perspective on life now. What would Jessica from 2011 have to say about where Jessica 2026 is? And what would Jessica 2035 have to say about me now? Whoa, there's a thought. Something looking back does is it gives you perspective, right? It gives you a chance to kind of relive through some of the things I've written down here. Some of these stories you might know from my blog or hearing me talk about them. My intro video on YouTube is about how my journey started with a pandemic. And I told that story on the podcast. I told about walking through Barnes & Noble and visualizing myself on that shelf, even though I wouldn't have called it visualizing then. I talked about how my grandmother handed me my first Harlequin book. There was just a lot of memory there and a lot of, I had a lot of hope, and I was such a dreamer, and I really had a tenacity about me. And so when I think back at that time, as we were talking through it on the podcast, you know, it took me over 2.5 years. I wrote 5 books, and I then found an agent, and the agent asked for exclusivity for the submission that I gave her for 2 weeks so that she could shop it without any competition. And I granted her that. And then there were 3 publishers who made offers on the book that I had written, which is Tempting the Billionaire, which is so amazing. Let me get it for you. I'll show you. And that's the book. This is my debut novel. Is that not so exciting? This was just the culmination of years of dream. Look, it even says, Jessica Lemmon has always been a dreamer. I forgot this was my old bio. Soon it became apparent she'd only be truly happy doing what she loved. And since eating potato chips isn't a viable career, she opted to become a writer. When I look back and remember, gosh, how exciting this was to see this book on a shelf, to write acknowledgments, to write a dedication for the first time. I mean, that is precious. That is just absolutely a precious memory. And I feel like, you know, after I went through a period of burnout 3 years ago, I was not in a place that I was appreciative of where I had been. And it's been quite a journey. I've taken some business classes. Manifestation Meets Business. I did that with Kathleen Cameron and Diamond Academy for almost 2 years. I hired a mentor. Taylor Eaton was my mentor for a year, and we talked through a lot of things. I've launched a course and launched a membership and launched a magazine. And each of those things that I have tried has had a varying amount of success. So there's been a lot of judgment on my part about where I am, what success, how I shouldn't be in the position that I am, where I feel like I'm almost starting over. I've turned over the calendar into like a new decade. I turned 50 last year. I've been post-menopause. I went through menopause really early. I actually wrote a submission for an illustrated book about perimenopause, and nobody wanted it because nobody was talking about perimenopause. And then 8 months later, everybody was talking about perimenopause. So everything has kind of felt like this start, stop, start, stop. And yesterday, in telling all of these stories about becoming a debut novel, I just became super appreciative of what it is that I've accomplished and how that girl, who I'm not anymore, how she had her head in the clouds, and she was a fierce dreamer. And then to yesterday, after I journaled, I typed this up, that I want to help 1,000 women harness their voices by writing fictional stories. And I realized when I wrote that sentence that this excites me a lot, because I am at that stage of life where, like I wrote here, like, we can be more honest in fiction. I remember going to like a Hay House class, and they were like, usually when people write their memoirs, they wait for someone to die before they can really tell the truth. Well, you can purge and express your opinions and work through emotional issues through your characters by being honest in your fiction books. And that was such an epiphany for me, that that's what I have done, is that I have allowed myself to express what I cared about and what mattered to me through each book that I have written. And I've written 48. I have worked through so much in my life through fiction storytelling, and it matters so much. So wow, did I go completely off topic, but this is what you're going to get on this channel. If you're wanting to write a fiction novel, or you're wanting to write a memoir, maybe you don't want to write a memoir. You know, maybe you think you do, and you think, well, I'll just tell my story. Well, tell a version of your story. You know, in Tempting the Billionaire, I told the story of being in direct sales and selling home decor. And I thought, wow, when I get out of this direct sales business, I wonder if anyone will employ me. And then I realized, heck yeah, they will. I used to say I worked with volunteers for a living, right? Oh man. All right. I'm going to pull a card. This is usually what I do in my journaling. Next, I'll get a little bit of something down about a memory, and then I'll pull a tarot or oracle deck and ask what the energies have in store. And since you're here with me, let's ask what the energies have in store for us. Keep in mind that time is not a real thing. So if you're not watching this on February 18th, that's okay. If this still applies to you, it just does. So I'm going to take a deep breath. And I'm just going to ask the universe and God and the energies surrounding us, what do you have for us today? How cute. Mouse spirit, tend to the small things. I'm going to get one more. I really like this one. Dear spirit, bring a gentle touch. That feels really good to me. They also match. Got the number 40, we've got the number 18. Tend to the small things. The small things are these little stories that matter so much. Like, this is the big thing, right? Like, this is the big mission, to help the 1,000 women write stories and express themselves, harness their creativity and their true inner voices. That's a big, big vision. To be able to do that, I am going to tend to the small things. What are the small things? It's these little stories that have made up where I am today. right? The fact that I joked about potato chips in my first novel, in my biography, the stories about where I've been, and the to-do list, right? Not letting that run my life, but also not letting nagging things that are on there build up so that I can't focus on the big things. And bring a gentle touch. I need this so much. Dear Spirit, this to me just says not to take myself too seriously. You know, I am a hustler by nature. When I write something down like this, I just want to go full speed. I wrote it down yesterday and I'm like, what do I need to make? What course improvements do I need to make? How do we need to launch this? Should I do a free Zoom call? And I got all caught up in it and then I got overwhelmed, and it's like, nope, today you're recording a podcast. That's what you're doing today. So maybe that was the quote unquote small thing, the immediate thing, the present thing. And then that gentle touch is just not, you know, holding it lightly and letting it flow through your life. And then after that, I will sometimes see what the oracle message is in here. Pay attention to the small details. In your eagerness to meet your goals and pursue your dreams, it is easy to forget the importance of clear communication and tending to the little things. Okay. Take your time to sniff out what you need to know. Is there a detail or nuance about how you engage others or operate in the world that is key to your success? Then I'll look up, Dear Spirit, time has come to be gentle and diplomatic when dealing with others. So this is giving like an angle of people. That's interesting to me. So what are the small things and where do I need to be gentle? Where do I deal with people? I deal with people in my membership. Is there something I need to tend to with them? That do they need encouraging about very specific things? You know, my call's coming up tomorrow, my live call for authors in the Lemmon Society. I'm going to marinate on this a little bit. What do they need to know gently? And where can I really drill down into something specific? So that helped me refine that as well. Now I'll go in here and I will just journal on the cards that I pulled. And that will be my journaling for the day before I go back to my weekly and fill out my day-to-day and my to-do list. So this is just one example of how I romanticize my life. It's something I'm very, very passionate about, along with fiction writing, like we talked about. It really is about more than getting a book written, because I know right now ChatGPT could spit out an entire book for you in literally minutes. It's about so much more than that. It is about who you became while you were going through all of this journey in your life. And I know you all have journeys. It may not be a published book, but you've definitely arrived somewhere because of who you were in the past. So maybe take a minute today and write down all those stories, the path that you got there. You could even write a letter. We're doing letter writing inside my membership. We're doing a letter writing practice, and you can write a letter to your past self about how much you appreciate her for being there and showing up and working so hard. This version of me had no idea that she was building what has turned into a 15-year career. She had no clue. Hopes, yeah. Dreams, yeah. Head in the clouds, you bet. But this was just one book that started what has become 48 books. There's something so magical about that. If you are one of the 1,000 women who want to harness your voice by writing fiction, the Lemmon Society membership is a supportive, encouraging community for writers and creatives. I include behind-the-scenes secrets for my stories. I write serialized fiction. I record audio pep talks. We log our word count inside the writing lounge to stay gently accountable to ourselves and to others. Just go to thelemmonsociety.com and join today. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys.